In the noisy market of Ndogpasi, every day was a battle, and this morning Clementine, 31, had woken up with a single thought: sell her tomatoes before noon. Ndogpasi market was already bustling with life, the cries of the vendors, the honking of horns, the mingled scents of ripe tomatoes, grilled fish, and cassava leaves, all interwoven in a joyful cacophony. Seated in the shade of her rickety parasol, Clementine, who held a degree in business management but had been unemployed for nearly 4 years, was carefully arranging her bright red tomatoes on her old wooden table. It was all she had. Every tomato represented an effort. She had been selling them for 3 years, always in the same spot, always with the same patience. "Madam, your tomatoes are lovely, aren't they?" said a passerby. Clementine replied with a tired, faint smile, "Thank you, my dear. Take 2 kilos, I'll give you a good price." Suddenly, a sharp noise cut through the moment's good humor. A sleek, imposing black 4x4 had just made a brutal maneuver right in front of her stall. Vanessa, who was leaving the area after her purchases, was making a turn to drive off when her vehicle struck the small wooden table head-on. Seeing the tomatoes on the ground, some crushed, others rolling under the stalls, Clementine cried out, "Hey! My table! My tomatoes!" as she ran towards the car. Vanessa had not stopped. She was about to continue her journey indifferent, but Clementine's cries attracted the attention of passers-by, forcing her to brake abruptly and get out of her vehicle. The driver emerged, high-heeled, in an elegant figure-hugging dress, with a designer handbag. It was Vanessa, a woman well known in the neighborhood, beautiful, confident, but with an arrogance in her eyes. She often came shopping, always criticizing, always looking down on the market vendors. Clementine ran up, breathless. "Madam, excuse me, but you crushed my table. My tomatoes are ruined. Look at this." Vanessa stopped and stared at her from head to toe with a look of contempt, then said in an icy voice, "Do you think I have time for this, huh? How much do you want for your tomatoes? Do you want me to buy you a whole field too?" Then, without another word, she got back into her car and drove off without even looking back, leaving behind the mess and a vendor's broken dignity. Clementine remained there, frozen, tears in her eyes but her dignity intact. A few passers-by had stopped around her. No one dared to speak, but what neither Clementine nor Vanessa knew was that an elegant man sitting in a black car parked a few meters away had witnessed everything. A few minutes later, in the heart of the administrative district, the large glass building of Kamertek gleamed under the sun. In a vast office on the top floor, Mr. Alain Douala, the company's founder, was staring fixedly out the bay window. He hadn't said anything at the time, not a word, but the scene at the market still haunted him. That look of contempt, that haughty tone, and that dignified young woman bent over her crushed tomatoes, holding back her tears. And that arrogant woman, he knew her well. Then, someone knocked on the door. "Enter," he said. Vanessa came in, elegant, confident as usual. "Good morning, sir," she said, smiling, placing her bag on a chair. Alain Douala turned around slowly. He did not smile. "Vanessa, where were you this morning around 9 a.m.? She looked surprised, shrugging slightly. I went through Ndogpasi market. There was a traffic jam, I had to make a detour." "Why? Did you get out of your car?" "Yes, I parked for a moment, then I came straight here." "Why, is there a problem?" He walked calmly towards his desk. There was a woman. A vendor. Tomatoes scattered on the ground. A table overturned. You looked at her as if she was worthless. You spoke to her as if she didn't exist. Do you think that's normal? Oh, that girl. She was yelling like crazy over 3 tomatoes. I just got out to tell her to calm down. Honestly, this kind of scene exhausts me. The boss stared straight into her eyes. So you looked at her as if she was worthless. But sir, she's just a market vendor. Why are you focusing on this kind of detail? He slowly pushed his chair back. This kind of detail, Vanessa, is exactly what shows people's true character. I saw you. I was parked right behind you. A heavy silence filled the room. Vanessa paled slightly. She lowered her eyes. I didn't know. No. And that's the problem. You didn't know, and yet you allowed yourself to publicly look down on a woman as if she were worthless. No. He paused, then added, I want you to go back there and apologize to her. Me? Vanessa looked up, shocked. What? Me? Go apologize to a vendor? Sir, with all due respect. This is not a request, Vanessa. It's a decision. And it's up to you to choose what you want to do with your position here. Vanessa remained frozen. The silence in the office had become heavy. She blinked, trying to smile. Mr. Douala, I'm sorry, but if you're asking me to do something humiliating. I mean, I'm an executive here. I've been your personal assistant for almost 2 years, and you're asking me to apologize to a girl who sells tomatoes on the roadside. Alain's gaze remained cold. No. It's not her social position that matters. It's her dignity. And you trampled on it. But it only lasted a few seconds. You're exaggerating. I didn't even do it on purpose. The car slipped, and I'm stressed right now with my wedding preparations and work, but I don't have time for this kind of theatricality. Alain looked at her for a long time, then nodded slowly. Very well. You've made your choice. Vanessa frowned. What do you mean? You may leave. But I'm removing all your external representation responsibilities. Vanessa wanted to protest, but her boss's gaze was firm. She understood he wouldn't back down. She stood up abruptly, picked up her bag, and left without a word. An hour later, in the busy streets of Ndogpasi, a black car slowed down in front of the small market corner. Clementine, still under her parasol, was trying to salvage what she could. Her quickly patched-up table was barely standing. A few tomatoes were still there, damaged and a little dusty. A well-dressed man with a calm demeanor got out. He approached gently. Good morning, mademoiselle. Clementine looked at him, wary at first. Good morning, sir. Hello. My name is Alain Douala. This morning, I was parked right behind the car that hit your table. I saw everything. She looked away, slightly embarrassed. Oh, it's nothing, sir. I'm used to it. He shook his head. No, precisely. It's not normal. It's not acceptable. He looked at her sincerely. I came to apologize to you. It wasn't me who acted that way, but she is my employee, and what she did is a disgrace. That's all. Clementine remained speechless, overwhelmed. No one had spoken to her with such respect in a long time. Thank you. Thank you, she murmured, her eyes moist. He added calmly, I'd like to repair the damage. Would you allow me to help you replace your table and restock a good supply of tomatoes to restart your sales? Clementine looked at him with surprise. But why are you doing all this? Alain gave her a small smile. Because you deserve it. And because sometimes, true wealth is not in bank accounts, it's in the way we treat others. In the following days, Clementine regained some momentum thanks to Mr. Douala's discreet help. She had a new, solid table, a new parasol, and bright red tomatoes that he had personally arranged to have delivered by a local wholesaler. But what surprised her the most wasn't the material gestures, it was his regular presence. Every late afternoon, a black car would slow down discreetly near the market, and he, always well-dressed, would approach to check in on her. Hello. Good sales today? Yes, a little. Thank you again for everything. I really don't know how to thank you. He shook his head gently. It's not a favor. It's justice. Clementine began to relax, to smile, to find her voice again, and in her eyes, Alain saw a gentle strength, a contained pride, a light he didn't often encounter in the air-conditioned offices of his company. Meanwhile, Vanessa was living a different reality. Since the incident, the atmosphere at work had changed. Colleagues avoided her, and some whispered behind her back. One day, she entered Alain's office, furious. Sir, may I know why you've taken away my priority files? I feel like I'm being sidelined and frankly, I'm starting to lose patience. Alain looked at her calmly. I thought you didn't have time for details, Vanessa. So, I'm taking them away from you. And while you're at it, think about what you truly want to be, a woman with power or a woman with value. Vanessa remained silent, offended. But that was just the beginning. One evening in an uptown bar in Bonapriso, Matthew, Vanessa's fiancé, was talking with a close friend, a man he greatly admired, Alain Douala, Vanessa's boss. Over a drink, Alain looked at him. I know Vanessa is your choice, and I don't interfere in your personal affairs, but if you ever want to talk frankly, I can tell you what I saw with my own eyes. Matthew frowned. What do you mean? Alain took a sip, then calmly set down his glass. I saw her crush a vendor's stall, ignore her, humiliate her, and when I asked her to apologize, she refused. Matthew, stunned, leaned back slightly in his chair. Wait, is that what people are talking about in the hallways? So it's true? I thought it was exaggerated. Not exaggerated. Worse. And while she was stubbornly holding on to her arrogance, another woman, more discreet, was rising with dignity. A silence. Alan looked him straight in the eyes. You know, Matthew, marrying a woman isn't choosing an image, it's choosing a character. You don't see people's true character at parties or in photos. You see it in the way they treat those who can't offer them anything. Matthew listened attentively. Alan added calmly, don't rush. Love isn't a jewel you display, it's a presence that elevates or crushes. And you need to know what you want to build. The two men parted ways after that conversation. The next morning, Vanessa was adjusting her earrings in front of the mirror when Matthew entered the living room, his face stern. Can we talk? He asked, without even greeting her. She stopped, surprised. What is it? You've had that look since yesterday. Did you sleep badly? He sat on the sofa, hands clasped. I saw Alan. He told me about that story at the market. Vanessa rolled her eyes. Oh, that again. Everyone's exaggerating. I was in a hurry, stressed. I barely touched her table, and besides, she's a tomato vendor, honestly. Do you think I'm going to kneel before her? No, he looked at her intently. That's the problem, Vanessa. It's not what you did, it's what you've become lately. You look down on everyone, waitresses, guards, vendors. You think everything is owed to you. Vanessa stood up abruptly. Oh, so now you're judging me because I don't want to play Mother Teresa? Am I a bad woman? No. But because you've forgotten respect. Because I no longer recognize the woman I fell in love with. Vanessa frowned defensively. I'll have you know I work hard, and I don't have time for market dramas. It's you who doesn't understand my priorities. No, it's you who doesn't understand human value. You act as if the world should bow to you. But you know what? What you did there is the last straw. She looked at him, stunned. Wait, you mean, you're going to ruin everything because of a market girl? He stood up slowly. I mean, I don't want to marry a woman who humiliates others. I didn't grow up with money, Vanessa, and I don't want to build my life with someone who tramples on others. You're not serious. I am very serious. He slowly placed his watch on the coffee table. I'll come by to pick up my things tonight, and I hope you find someone who can tolerate your ego. Then he walked out. Vanessa remained there alone. Her reflection in the mirror no longer showed her the same image. Since the day Alan came back to see her, Clementine felt that something had changed. He no longer just dropped by. He stayed a little longer, asked questions, took an interest in her. This morning, as she was arranging her tomatoes on her new table, he stopped in front of her stall, a bag of fruit in his hand. This is for you, he said. Mangoes from the north. One of my agricultural partners sent them to me. You spoil me too much, sir. Call me Alan, just Alan. She laughed softly, slightly embarrassed. Thank you, Alan. He looked at her table, then at her. Have you always sold here? Yes, she shook her head. No, before I was in another market, and before that, I was a student. He raised his eyebrows. Oh really? In what field? Business management. Degree obtained at the University of Douala. But after graduation, nothing. I searched, applied everywhere, and then one day I was hungry. So I chose the tomato. At least it never let me down. A silence followed. Alan remained attentive, sincerely touched. And you never thought of going back to your field? She shrugged. I think about it every day, but reality reminds me every morning that I don't have connections, contacts, or a suit to go to an interview. He smiled. You might have more than you think, Clementine. She looked at him, intrigued. He added, listen, if you agree, I'd like you to come to my office. Nothing obligatory, just a discussion. Maybe there's a place for someone like you at our company. Thank you, Clementine. Her eyes widened. Clementine, are you serious? Very serious. I've learned to observe you, Clementine, and I truly believe your worth goes far beyond tomatoes. She looked down, touched. Thank you. Thank you. I will come on Monday at 10 a.m. I look forward to it. That day, it wasn't a market table that Clementine carefully prepared, but her rediscovered dignity. Because this time, she wasn't going to sell, she was going to present herself. It was Monday morning, 9:52 a.m. Clementine was already standing in front of the glass doors of Camertech, a small folder in her hand, wearing a clean shirt ironed the night before and simple black trousers. She had never entered such a modern office. Her heart was beating fast, but inside, a gentle voice kept repeating, "You haven't stolen anything. You belong here." The security guard greeted her kindly. "Are you here for the interview with Mr. Douala? He's expecting you. Go up to the 4th floor, it's the last door on the left." She nodded, taking a deep breath. A few minutes later, she was facing Alan in his simple, bright office. "Thank you for coming, Clementine. Please take a seat." "Thank you for inviting me." He opened a notebook. "Well, officially, this is an interview. So I'll play the role of the recruiter, and you the young graduate full of potential." "Okay," she smiled shyly. "Thank you. Okay." He started gently. "Why did you study business management?" "Because I wanted to understand how a company works, how to sell, how to manage, how to build. And I dreamed of one day starting a small import-export business. But the dream met reality. And reality was unemployment, rent, and a sick mother in the village." Alan jotted something down. "Do you have a CV?" She handed him a very simple but neat folder. He leafed through it. "Your internships are interesting. Here, you were a management assistant." "Yes, at a food wholesaler. I was in charge of stock management and delivery notes. That's where I understood that theory is nothing without discipline." He looked up, impressed. "You know, you speak better than many young graduates I interview. You are structured, composed, and clear." She smiled, touched. "Thank you. I guess selling at the market taught me how to be quickly persuasive." A silence followed, then Alan closed the folder. "Clementine, I'm going to be direct." She looked at him, her heart pounding. "I want to hire you. Not because I pity you, but because I sincerely believe you belong here. We need profiles like yours, genuine, human, resilient." She felt a lump in her throat. Are you sure? Me in a company like this?" "You've already overcome more obstacles than half of my executives, and you've done all that without arrogance, without fuss, but with a dignity that no one gave you. You earned it." She discreetly wiped her eyes. "Thank you. Thank you so much." He extended his hand. "Welcome to Camertech, Mademoiselle Clementine Nana." She shook it with pride. That day, it wasn't just a job she had won, it was her rightful place in a world that had looked down on her for too long. Clementine arrived at the Camertech headquarters the following Monday at 8:45 a.m. sharp, dressed simply, with a tidy handbag. She had the jitters of a child entering a great school, but she held herself straight. "Good morning, Mademoiselle Clementine. I'm Mireille, your HR contact. Follow me, I'll show you your station." She was set up in the logistics department, with a computer and a small desk against the wall, but to her, it was a palace. The first week, everyone was already talking about her. She learns fast, the new girl. She reorganized the schedules in 3 days. She respects everyone, even the cleaning staff. Clementine wasn't loud, but her results spoke volumes. In his office, Alan often listened to the feedback. One day, he discreetly called Mireille. "So tell me honestly, how is the new hire Clementine doing?" "Sir, if I could have 10 like her, I'd sign immediately. She understands everything, respects everyone. She sometimes stays late to help others, but most importantly, she never complains." Alan nodded. "Thank you. That's all I wanted to know." But what he didn't say was that he thought about her more than he let on. One Friday evening, when most employees had already left, he went down to the logistics department. Clementine was still there, scanning stock sheets. "Still working at this hour?" She turned around, a little surprised, then smiled. There was an error in the delivery spreadsheet. I wanted to correct it before Monday. He approached slowly. Hello. You know you don't have to do so much. I know, but I'm grateful. And when nothing has ever been given to me easily, I don't take anything lightly. Alan remained silent for a moment, then he said softly, thank you. You know, sometimes I think you belong here more than some people who grew up with the right codes, but without the values. She lowered her eyes, touched. Thank you, Mr. Douala. Alan, I already told you. They looked at each other for a moment, a gentle silence without tension, but full of respect and a new closeness. Well, he finally said, I won't keep you. You deserve to go home and rest. I'm just finishing this file. I promised Mireille I'd have it for Monday. He smiled. Good, but don't forget about yourself either. Then he went back up to his office, his heart slightly more restless than usual. That evening, Alan Douala understood that what he felt was no longer just professional admiration. And Clementine, for her part, quietly wondered if his gaze hadn't changed. 2 months had passed. Clementine had become a quiet pillar of the logistics department, always humble, always efficient, always smiling. One day, in the middle of the weekly meeting, Alan entered the room with a folder in his hand. Before we begin, he said, I'd like to honor someone. Eyes met, some people murmured. A few weeks ago, a new colleague joined us. She came from Dog Passy Market, not from the Yaoundé campus or a business school. But since she's been here, she has given new meaning to the word commitment. Her name is Clementine Nana, and she deserves our respect. The room erupted in applause. Clementine blushed, moved, her hands trembling. Thank you, she whispered. She took a short breath, then slowly raised her eyes. I never dreamed of a moment like this. I wasn't born with privileges, but I learned to wake up early, to smile even in the dust, and to believe that every day could be a chance. Thank you to everyone who knows how to recognize people's worth beyond their appearance or their past. Thank you. A murmur of emotion ran through the room. Some nodded, others wiped away a discreet tear. Alan, standing next to her, placed a kind hand on her shoulder. This is why she is here today. That evening, back at home, she received a call. Clementine, Alan said on the phone, I'd like to have dinner with you tomorrow night. Not at the office. Outside. In peace. In peace, Alan. She hesitated for a second, her heart pounding. With pleasure, she replied. The next day, they dined in a small discreet restaurant in Bonamissodi. Nothing luxurious, but everything felt sincere. Alan listened to her talk about her mother in the village, her dreams of a small business, and her fears. She had never been given this kind of moment, with a man who listened to her without wanting to dominate her. You are truly different, he said at the end of the meal. Different how? Authentic. And that is rare. A gentle silence fell. He placed his hand on the table, close to hers. She didn't pull hers away. Meanwhile, Vanessa, alone and bitter, haunted by her losses, had learned that Clementine now worked at Camertech and that her ex-fiancé had completely cut ties. She showed up at the headquarters one morning without an appointment. I need to see Alan. It's urgent. But the secretary replied, I'm sorry, Mr. Douala does not receive guests without an appointment. He is busy. Vanessa insisted, almost shouting, but Alan upstairs did not come down. She then understood that the world had moved on without her. A few seconds later, a security guard calmly approached. Madam, I'm going to ask you to follow me, please. Vanessa looked at him, crestfallen, then lowered her eyes. She left the building, her steps heavy, her heart even heavier. A few weeks later, in the company's large conference room, Alan took the floor. I would like to introduce my new personal collaborator. She will assist me in several internal projects and lead a program to help reintegrate unemployed young graduates. Today, he paused, her name is Nana Clementine, and today I'm not just introducing her as a colleague. He turned to her and added emotionally, I love her. So, I'm also introducing her to you as the woman who changed my vision of the world. Clementine, eyes teary, stepped forward to applause. That day, the tomato vendor had become a reference, an inspiration. There was a light. And facing her, Vanessa, far in the shadows, finally realized that what she had despised was exactly what the world now admired. A few months had passed. Clementine had become much more than an exemplary employee. She was now the head of Kamerteka's internal social program, piloting a project for the integration of unemployed youth. Her reputation grew, but she remained humble, simple, and true. Alan, for his part, no longer hid his affection. They came to the office together, sometimes had lunch in the indoor garden, and exchanged knowing glances. And of course, the corridors had started to talk. "Did you see how the boss looks at Clementine? He's changed since she arrived. He smiles more often, huh? Do you think there's something going on?" "I don't know, but honestly, if anyone deserves his heart, it's her." Clementine said nothing. She did her job, always with grace, but in her eyes, there was sometimes a timid, hard-to-hide spark. But one day, in front of all the assembled staff at a company ceremony, Alan took the microphone. "A year ago, I saw a woman being publicly humiliated in a market. That day I saw malice, but I also saw dignity. And since then, that dignity has accompanied me every day." He turned towards Clementine, seated in the front row. "Today, I no longer just want to be her boss. I want to be her life partner." He approached, took out a small box, and knelt gently before everyone. "Clementine Nana, will you marry me?" The room held its breath. Clementine, tears in her eyes, slowly stood up, then whispered, "Yes, with all my heart." The applause erupted. Some were crying, others were smiling. A few weeks later, on a beautiful Saturday in a flowery garden in Douala, Clementine walked down the aisle, dressed in a simple but magnificent ivory gown. Beside her, her mother, who had come from the village, couldn't stop crying with joy. Alan waited for her at the end of the aisle in a cream suit, his eyes full of emotion. Former employees, colleagues, market neighbors, everyone was there, and even some old customers from Dogpassi. When Clementine said, "I do before God and men," the whole market seemed to applaud with her. That day, the one they called the Tomato Girl became Madame Douala, the wife of a just man who fell in love not with her appearance, but with her soul. And while Vanessa, now alone, slowly erased her past engagement photos, Clementine wrote a new chapter of her life, a chapter made of respect, hard work, love, and rediscovered justice. Clementine never forgot where she came from. She continues to support the women of the market, helps young people find their way, and always greets calloused hands like those that once carried her. She knows that everything could have gone wrong if Alan Douala hadn't opened his eyes that day, or if she had given in to anger. But she chose to remain dignified, and he chose to reach out instead of looking away. Today their story is more than a modern tale, it is proof that kindness, respect, and humility can still change lives. And what if what we despise today becomes what we admire tomorrow? Has this ever happened to you? Have you ever witnessed an injustice? Share your experience in the comments. And if you liked this story, leave a like, subscribe to HD Story, the channel for human stories and inspiring life lessons, and share it with someone who still believes that greatness can be born from humility. Take care, and see you soon for a new story.